making Biscochito cookies. If you've never had them, they're a soft, buttery cookie that's tossed in cinnamon sugar, and they're a staple around the holidays in New Mexico. They're so simple to make, but they taste so special, and I'm gonna walk you through step by step how to make them at home. Before we get started, I wanna show you a couple of the ingredients that make this cookie so tasty. So we're gonna be using lard, good old-fashioned lard. And it's one of the things that gives this cookie such a delicious flavor. If you're skeptical, I just encourage you to try it first with lard. You can substitute butter, but lard gives it the most flaky, light quality that it really improves the cookie if you use lard. And then the next thing we're gonna do is use some anise seed. Anise seed can be found in the grocery store. You can use it whole or you can grind it up, and it's gonna give this cookie its signature Biscochito flavor. I also like to use a little bit of brandy in mine, and this is a brandy that I've infused with some vanilla bean, but any type of brandy will do, and we're just gonna use this in place of vanilla. To get started, we're gonna combine the lard and granulated sugar and beat them with the paddle attachment until they're well combined. This is such a simple recipe that you can also just use a large mixing bowl and a rubber spatula and mix by hand. I'm adding in my vanilla infused brandy, but feel free to substitute out regular vanilla or plain brandy if that's what you have. You can see how light the mixture is after we've whipped it and scraped the sides. That's the look you're going for, just nice and light and aerated. Now I'm adding in my all-purpose flour, some baking powder, and my anise seeds. I like to grind the anise seeds because it gives it a little bit more of a pronounced flavor and it gets distributed in the dough a little bit better. This recipe makes about 24 to 36 Biscochitos. It depends on the size of the cutter that you're using, but you can see here how soft and pliable the dough is. You can go straight from the mixer to rolling. No chill time required. Now I'm gonna dust my silicone rolling mat with a little bit of all-purpose flour, and I'm gonna go and roll out this dough so that we can cut our Biscochito cookies. I like to use these rolling strips. You put one on each side of the dough, and then when you pass over it with your rolling pin, it helps the dough to get a nice uniform thickness. Once you've got them all rolled out, you can cut these in any shape you like. I like stars and Christmas trees for the holidays, but for this example, I'm just gonna use a 2-inch fluted round. You're gonna wanna use a very well-seasoned cookie sheet with no parchment, no silicone, and no oil. It helps them to get the flakiest, so don't be afraid to pull out the old cookie sheets and use them for this recipe. Biscochitos are a traditional Christmas cookie, and you'll find them in restaurants, cafes, and home kitchens all throughout New Mexico this time of year. I love to include these as part of my Christmas cookie baking selection because they add such a nice flavor, and their shelf life is at least 2 to 3 weeks at room temperature after they're baked. Now I've collected my scraps and I'm re-rolling them, which is something I don't do with all dough, but this dough is so tender that you can take your scraps and roll out a few more cookies. The recipe makes about 24 to 36 Biscochitos. It depends on the size of the cutter that you use, but if you visit my website at thebetterbakerclub.com and go to print this recipe, you can scale it up or down according to how many cookies you'd like to bake. Once the cookies are cool enough to handle, you're gonna give them a little toss in a cinnamon sugar mixture. It's just a nice little finishing touch that gives these cookies their classic look, and when you have a classic that is this delicious, then why mess with tradition? You can get creative with your add-ins here, but the classics are mini chocolate chips and even crushed red chili peppers for a fun and festive variety. Here's our little Biscochito cookies after they've been dipped in their cinnamon sugar and baked till just golden brown. You can see the little flecks of anise in there. It's got a little hint of brandy, and it just tastes like Christmas. and you're not going to believe how light and flaky they are. They're wonderful. I hope you enjoy.